weeks or 5 weeks in this month, what else can we talk about? Well, we saved the last for best, of course. God, the only one, the one and only. And whether you choose to use the word God or you choose another word, source energy, spirit, I like to call it great spirit, Allah, whatever that is for you that works for you, as I speak today and I use that G word and you need to implement another one so that it works better for you, please do that. Because I get that sometimes that doesn't work for everybody. I just want us to be reminded that in every relationship that we have, we get to think of the ultimate relationship that we have as the one with our connection to spirit. And how we interact in all of our other relationships is how we see our relationship with spirit. So that's a way to go inward and ask ourselves, is that how I want to show up? In this teaching, Centers for Spiritual Living, we teach that God is all there is. God is ever present in all things. And so I want to open up with a little reading that is actually from Ernest Holmes, the founder of this teaching, for anyone that is not aware. And before he published books, he used to do group studies. And this is a little excerpt from one of his group studies. So we're going way back in time with the basic essence of what this teaching is about. And it's often good to just start at the beginning or the basics. God is all there is. There is nothing else. Amen. Whether it's a bird, a beast, a fish, a tree, a man, or an archangel, God is still all there is. All things are a manifestation of the one presence, the one power, the one life. This is the ultimate secret. If you had to know what was the ultimate secret, that's it right there. There is no there, there's only here. There is no then, there's only now. There's no tomorrow, just today. There is no place where you, the individual I, leaves off, and God, the universal I am, begins. To you, there is only God and God in you, and the two are one. Seek then to cultivate this divine indwelling presence, for it will respond to you and you will know it, that you are not alone. May all the power in the universe be with you, even as the divine light casts its radiance before you and infinite love guides you on your way. I wanted to start with that because I'm going to use some languaging that if you haven't been in this teaching or you haven't been in it in a while, or maybe just like all of us, we forget things, I might say a thing or two that has you sort of shake your head a little in startlement. And that's okay, because my job is to comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. So here we go. Some of you have taken the basic foundations class or beyond limits class, which is the essence of what we practice. And in that you learned a 5-step prayer treatment. And it's not to say that not all prayer works, because it sure does. Except in order to understand why it's so powerful, I want to start out with the first step. Nope, we're not doing pop quizzes, so nobody has to feel unsettled about that, okay? It's like, oh God, don't call on me, I don't know. The first step of our formulated prayer treatment is unification. Now, most of us were raised to believe, and if you still do, that's fantastic. Just take a deep breath because I might rattle your cage. That there is a God deity in the sky. And if we beg, plead, cry, whine, and ask for things, God will help us out. And if you still feel that way, that's fabulous. I'm not trying to change your mind. However, if God is everywhere present, if God is all there is, certainly God is within you and me. Does that work for anyone? Amen to that? All right. So, when we're doing a prayer treatment, instead of thinking that we're giving all of our personal power to out there, to this energy out there, and then wondering how come it didn't work, or whatever else we might be wondering about that, we use the unification step to remind ourselves there is God. I am the son and daughter of the beloved God, which means that God being present everywhere is also in me. Amen. And what that means to me when I start a prayer treatment is it means I'm not asking for something that's unobtainable from something else unobtainable. I am asking the wisdom, the intuitive nature that I am, to tap in, tune in, and to be mindful that if I want to have a change, I have the ability, because I am that God essence, to make the shift that I'm asking for. And so I say this to you to remember, because I'll be continuously talking about prayer and the 5 steps of prayer, just so that you all start to get more familiar with why we have practitioners, what they do, what they're about, and so that that can be utilized in the community. So I just like to think about when we say we're interconnected, what does it mean when we talk about honoring God in everyone? And I ponder these things because we're in times now where oftentimes we see people that demonstrate behaviors we don't care for. They demonstrate point of views that are much different than ours that we don't care for. They present themselves in a way that we don't care for. And we have all this stuff around people and how they be. So how do we see God in everyone? It's not just a key phrase that sounds really nice. What it means is, if I'm willing to see you as the beloved showing up as your individual self, and you demonstrate a way of being that is not up to my liking, then if we're all connected, that means the only reason I would be able to recognize behavior you have that I don't like is because I too own that behavior. And that's a hard pill to swallow, because most of us don't want to think that we're mirrors of one another. Okay, we're mirrors of one another. If you show up in a way that I don't personally care for, what about me has drawn that forth? And when we start to view it in that way, it's a little easier to check our own behavior and how we respond to another with perhaps judgment, criticism, pain we're holding in that we haven't had forgiveness about, and on and on and on. And I talk a lot about how we are a community in this room, on the Love Shack, and beyond. And yet, and still, in order for us to have a world that works for everyone, which is what our theme is in this teaching, it means we embrace everyone right where they are, including things we don't care about, things that we don't like. And I want us to keep that in the forefront of our mind when we're out in the world, because if we're having all these different interactions in relationships, everyone's in a relationship. We're having a relationship with everything. So if we want the relationship to be richer, where do we need to be within ourselves for that to occur? And I'll keep speaking about it in so many different ways, because we all, including myself, need to remember it. And that way, when we see the person that might be presenting as without home at this time, or we see a person that really, really doesn't look like anyone we would ever want to talk to, offering help with a bag of groceries or to cross the street, that instead of saying, I'm okay, we're able to breathe and smile and say, thank you, thank you. Because that to me is how the world that works for everyone works, is one little piece at a time. And so I want to read a story to you, and I know sometimes some of you will be thinking, oh, always reading stories. But I like to read stories that are from other teachings, other philosophies, other religions, so that we get a chance to hear the commonality we all share. You see, when we think we know something about someone, we don't. And when we learn more about their culture, perhaps, we learn more of what we have in common. So I picked a story that I thought was fabulous. And here's the thing. We have weekly themes and monthly themes that are suggested talk titles by the collected consciousness of all centers for spiritual living. And many people on the Minister's Listserv throw out articles that they see or a quote that they saw, and it's really wonderful because then it's a collaboration of ideas, and you get a chance to look at something that resonates and smile and say, oh, I love that. So we are sharing as colleagues ideas that might spark something within us. And this sparked something within me. Maybe. Maybe. It did spark something within me. Okay. Well, you know, it's funny because I was so concerned with having this particular little reading. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you the best from my memory, which is probably better anyway, because then you're not thinking, oh, she's reading a thing again and it's this long, oh God. So in many, many years ago, in the Hindu teaching, everyone was a god. And then there was the great god Brahma. And so at one point, all the gods were not embracing the divinity within themselves. So they alleviated all the everyday gods. But there were still selected gods. And one day, all the gods got together and they were talking to Brahma about where could they hide man's greatest gift. Now, what's interesting is this is a similar reading in the Native American culture, and I'm sure many others. So one god said, "Well, you could hide it up in the highest mountain. They'll not look." Oh no, Brahma says, no, they'll go up there and they'll be digging all over the place in that mountain trying to find it. Well, the next one said, "Well, you could take it deep down into the sea. They won't look there." Nope. Believe me, those humans, they're tricky. They'll deep down in the sea, swimming and looking all over the place for it. Then they said, well, you know, you could hide it somewhere deep in the forest. They won't think to look there. No, again, the humans, they'll get out there and they'll start looking. So they all sat and thought, well, where are we going to possibly put it then? You know, if these automatic things we're thinking of aren't going to work, where are we going to put it? So they sat for a while. And the other gods just said, oh, forget it, never mind. You know, like they gave up. Like those were their immediate thoughts and they gave up. But Brahma, he sat with that for a while. I'm going to change it and make it fluid gender and say they, or he, she, whichever you're comfortable with. Sat with that for a while and said, I know where they could put it. I know where we'll put it. They will not think to look there. We'll put it deep inside of the humans. They will not think to look for their own divinity within themselves because they're so busy looking out there, outside of themselves, for the magic of whom they are. And the reason I wanted to say that is, again, if we're so busy looking out there for our joy, for our good, We never embrace that which is within us, that we bring to each other to share. And I just smile, and I just love how each culture spins that story a little bit differently. And I thank you, great spirit that I am, that I was so concerned to bring that little reading with me that it's on my desk in my office, because I didn't need that reading. And so I want to ask you a question to think about. Because usually we're so caught up in all these different things in life, we forget the part of our divinity. You know, we forget the divinity that we are. How much time do we spend in our life, in our day-to-day activity, fighting off or blocking our own good? A little bit of time? A lot of time? Some of you are saying, I never do that. Good for you, because I'm working on it every single day not to block my own good. And so here's what's so fun for me. You know, I think that I can oftentimes micromanage God. It's comical as a minister that I think I can micromanage God. It really is tickling. And I'm thinking about having a tattoo on my wrist right here that says, God's got it. To remind me all day long that whatever I think is going on that is a great idea of mine, I'm often in the way of blocking something greater. Now, I had a brand new practitioner friend call me yesterday in crisis. From my former community, I supported her in classwork to go into practitioner training. She just a few weeks ago passed her panels. And that community is having, they're more seasoned practitioners pair up and be a mentor to the brand new practitioners. The practitioners in this teaching philosophy are lay clergy that hold the community together. So she was upset because she reached out to a person she wanted to be her perfect person. And that person got back to her and said, I'll have to get back to you, meaning others have already called that person, and that person's deciding whom they wish to take on. Well, I couldn't take the call because I was here busy doing things here in the breakdown process of this event that we had here. So when I had a first opportunity to call her back, she says to me, no, it's okay, Reverend Davine, I'm okay. She says, I was really upset and I was on the ledge and I wanted you to talk me down. And I talked myself down and I'm still not happy about it. And I said, well, what's what? Well, the gist was, she had her attachment to the perfect person that's her mentor. You already know. I say it often, as the more you get to know me, you'll hear it all the time. God makes a way out of no way all the time. So when we get attached to a certain idea that we are firm is the only way to be, great sense of humor Spirit has, because just does little things just to throw us off our game plan, tilt us a little bit to remind ourselves, you're not open to the flow. You're not open to the flow of your good. Okay? And I know some of you are thinking, oh, she's always speaking about that. You haven't even begun to hear about that yet from me. So she says, I'm upset because I really wanted that person, and I feel like it's like this competition now. And I just let her talk because she had already been working it out. I didn't need to say anything. I just held space while she rattled on about how she's a little annoyed, to clean up my language. She's a little annoyed that she may not get her person. And she goes, I know. Whoever's the person will be the right person. And then there was the but. And I let her talk. She had to work it through herself. And I said, wow, isn't that amazing? You might wind up having an opportunity to have an experience with a new person that you didn't know well. And they may not still be your most first choice favorite person, but they're going to bring a magic gift to you you were not anticipating. And I could feel her smile on the phone, and she's like, I know you're right. I don't have to like it, but I do know you're right. And so I just ask you all to, and just check in with yourselves. How often do you block your good because you think you got the best plan possible? So just taking it back to that premise of, as Mr. Eckhart says, let God be God in you. Amen. That is your wisdom, that is your intuitive nature. And I want to just ask you this week, because I always ask you to do something in the week following. Whether you choose to do it or not is all up to you. Where might you possibly finding yourself having a separate experience from God? Where might you find yourself feeling like God is not there for you? And if you feel that way, one, acknowledge that you feel that way. Two, I really ask that you put a prayer request in the prayer box so the practitioners can pray over that for the week in confidence. That we're praying that you have an experience of knowing God as you, the individual, as opposed to that separation of God. And I also ask you just to take a look and see where might you still have parts and pieces that are critical. Critical to you, critical to others. Because remember, if you are an individualized expression of God, and all your relationships are an outpicturing of the relationship you have with source energy, spirit, infinite intelligence, if you're feeling like that, is that the way you would like your God self, your wisdom counsel, your higher being to be treated? Whether it's allowing others to criticize you, you to criticize yourself, on and on. What are you willing to do just to catch yourself and say, cancel, 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 I didn't mean it. So that you start having a greater relationship with God as you. And if you're willing on any level to take that in, I invite you to also reach out. If you notice that you've had some remarkable revealment, we call them demonstrations, where you prayed about something and something came through that was great or far greater than you imagined. Reach out to our Ministry of Prayer. We like to have demonstrations of what prayer did for you that was positive, because that way it supports us in remembering the power of how prayer works in our lives. And so I invite you now just to go within for a moment. Allow the words of I see God in everyone from that song. Allow yourself just to sit. Those of you that are in the room, those of you in our virtual love shack, just sit, breathing that energy in. And if there was one thing I said that worked for you, tuck that away. Tuck that away, and to remember, it's not out there. Great Source Spirit put it within you, your divinity, to tap into, to tune into, and to remember you are divine, you are magnificent, you are that, all of that. And any parts of you that are old mind chatter that want to get in the way and tell you that's not the truth, that you are not deserving, you are not worthy of calling yourself a son or daughter of God, they and them of God, that you start allowing that to work its way through your beingness, to remember all relationships we have are the relationship we have with Great Spirit, Source, Energy, Universal Love, God. And I know that as I've spoken these words into the action of law and just let them be released into the ethers of nothingness from which they came, that this is already happening right here, right now. It's within me, it's within you, and if you're willing to accept it, to pay attention to the change that will occur within you. And if any of this resonates at all, please anchor it with me by saying, And so it is. Amen. Ashe. Namaste.
Everybody get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Everybody get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Let us be reminded of who we've come to be. We are love, we are one. One big family. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 yeah, yeah. Everybody get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Everybody get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Let us be reminded of who we've come to be. We are love, we are one. One big family. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 yeah, yeah. Let us make a joyful sound. Here we stand on holy ground. Let us make a joyful sound. Here we stand on holy ground. Let us make a joyful sound. Hey, 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 hey. Everybody get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Everybody get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Let us be reminded of who we've come to be. We are love, we are one. One big family. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 yeah, yeah. Let us make a joyful sound. Here we stand on holy ground. Let us make a joyful sound. Here we stand on holy ground. Let us make a joyful sound. Hey, 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 hey. Everybody get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 yeah, yeah.
Woo-hoo! Wow. Do you feel a little energy going on in the room? See what happens when you make a joyful noise? A lot more energy going on within the body. So now is this wonderful time for our joyful giving. And I'm so blessed that Emmy had shared what money we made. The reason I think it's important to share that is we are a tithing community. So when we have money that is beyond our initial operating needs, we generously give to set organizations in this community. So not only is it prospering this immediate group here and virtually, but it is all activities in our community. Okay, and I just want you to know that when we ask you to show your gratitude in a form of money, it is not to hold in our pockets. It is to be able to continuously practice the law of circulation. We give out, more comes in. We give out, more comes in. And so just keep that in mind to know that how many things we're able to do to support other people in their well-being as well. So if you'll join me with this wonderful reading. From God I receive, to God I give. Together we share the blessings we live. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. And you can give via the electronic version. You can give with cash, coins, check. You can also give in your sacred seva of service and ways that you contribute to supporting the community. So keep in mind when we ask for volunteers, that is another form of giving. Thank you.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
And now, I just want to ask anyone wearing a stole as a practitioner that is feeling called to pray. I asked the practitioners to start wearing their stoles so that for those of you who didn't know who they were, you could identify them. And I also said, if you don't feel like praying, don't wear a stole, okay? That way people don't come up to you and you're like, not having a day for that today. Okay, all right. And we have Adrian in the back who has his stole on, who is also available afterwards for prayer. We say that we are having prayer so that you get used to, if something's going on in your life, I don't care if it's a tiny little thing or a giant thing or something you're celebrating, and you want to celebrate and rejoice in prayer, have a seat over here, and one of us will be with you so that we can be in that sacred space together. And I ask you now to stand if you're comfortable as we gather, just to complete our time together. And when I ask that you stand if you're comfortable, it means don't stand if you don't feel like it, okay? Some folks, it's not comfortable. All right. Now, this is one of our favorite songs. And if it's not something you resonate with, well, the more you hear it, it's kind of catchy, and you'll kind of get with it.
I love myself so much that I can love you so much. That you can love you so much. That you can start loving me. I love myself so much that I can love you so much. That you can love you so much. That I can start loving me. I love myself so much that I can love you so much. That you can love you so much. Start loving me. I love myself so much that I can love you so much. That you can love you so much. That you can start loving me. I love myself so much that I can love you so much. That you can love you so much. That you can start loving me.
Oh, let's just take a moment. Just take a moment and just repeat after me if you're comfortable. Something wonderful is happening right here and right now.
Something wonderful is happening right here and right now.
It's this thing called life.
It is this thing called life.
Life is in my mind.
Life is in my mind.
Life is in my body.
Life is in my body.
And life is in all of my affairs.
Life is in all of my affairs.
And I take this life out
I take this life out
and share a joyful noise.
and share a joyful noise.
Welcome to, if you want to come into the area where we have community to have fellowship and have a snack, come on in. If you don't want to have a snack and you just